Hello, Endeavour. It's me again. Sorry it's been a little bit of a delay. It's been a busy weekend because it was Easter and it was somebody's 10th birthday and it was all very exciting, and I hope you had a lovely time too and ate chocolate and enjoyed the sun, hopefully, and stayed safe and all of that business. Phoenix, chapter 7. I did record it actually already, but it got interrupted and didn't quite work, and I couldn't be bothered to stitch it together. It was easier to just do it again. So you'll remember at the end of the last chapter it all got a bit scary, and Lucky's mum, well, we're not sure about her, are we? Lucky got onto the alien spaceship as they were running away from the Shadow Guards, but Lucky's mum didn't, so We'll see about that. Chapter 7. His world shattered into pieces. Afterwards, he could only remember flashes, memories of moments seared into his mind. Up, up, the sunfire rising into the sky. Inside the ship, everything shuddering, juddering, metal bucking and shaking like it would break all around him. Get away from that airlock! Frolics hauling him back into a cabin, slamming the hatch shut behind him. The smoke and the fire of the spaceport falling away. The burning shadow ship gone from view, and his mother gone. She's really gone. My mother's gone. Face crumpling, tears like knives behind his eyes, a howl of grief and pain rising inside his throat. Hold it together. You're on an alien spaceship. You've got to hold it together. You have to. I can't, not alone. You have to. She gave everything to save you, but if you don't pull yourself together, it won't mean a thing. Looking around, trying to get his bearings, but everything strange in the alien ship. Unidentifiable objects, weird shapes, everything old, faded, dusty, dilapidated. The walls covered in damaged vid screens buzzing on and off, crackling with static, flashing up fragments, broken glimpses of the view outside. Clouds streaking past, breaking through the clouds, beyond them the blood-red disk of Ares 1. We're breaking the atmosphere, the aliens rejoicing. She beat them. There's no one coming after us. Impossible to reply. Eyes clenched tight, trying to hide the howling pain inside. The astrolabe, Captain Knox demanding. Give it to me. Handing it over. No choice. Now leave me alone. The aliens leaving the cabin, leaving him alone, all alone in the galaxy. My home is gone. My mother gone. And why? She promised it would be okay, and now look. Collapsing right there on the floor, huddling into a ball, shivering, shaking, sleeping and waking, fits and starts, in and out of fever dreams, knees throbbing with pain, red, raw and bleeding, whole body aching with the impact of the fall, remembering something stupid, that battlefield medikit of hers. He'd scoffed at it only a day ago. And how he wished he had it now. Wishing she was there, wishing he'd told her that he cared. All that time she'd been looking after him, and she was brilliant, so brilliant. She could do things he never even knew about. All he'd done was argue with her and weeping, weeping, weeping into the night. Chapter 8. Lucky dreamed of the stars again that night. He dreamed they were calling to him once more, making that small, soft, silvery sound. Like the chime of a faraway bell, trying to tell him something so important. It would change everything if only he could understand it. And in his dream, Lucky rose up and soared through space, into the swirling stars and the constellations. He rose higher and higher until the sound wasn't distant anymore. It was all around him now, surrounding him with waves of overwhelming power, closer and clearer than ever before. It was near his own thoughts, like hearing voices in his head, many voices in unison, the harmonies ringing out as the sound grew richer, deeper, stronger, and he knew the sound was a song. The stars were singing. The meaning of the song lay in its words, if only he could grasp them. But they were so elusive. Already the song was slipping away from him. He reached out his hands to touch it and woke up with a violent start. He was in the alien ship. He was alone, flat on his back by the airlock. The floor around him was scorched black. The metal had been badly burned. It had twisted out of shape, bubbled and bent back on itself. It was barely recognisable as metal anymore. It looked like a lunar landscape. He himself was unharmed, though his knees hurt. His hands felt raw, and his headache blazed behind his eyes. He was soaked in sweat, exhausted, and totally naked. Lucky hugged himself but couldn't stop shaking. Where are my clothes? What's going on? The memory of a dream flickered at the edge of his mind and slipped away. He clambered to his feet. A cloud of smoke and ashes rose around him. He brushed the ashes off his skin and realised with a sickening jolt that they were the remnants of his clothes. It had happened again, just like the burnt bedsheet at home. This thing that scared his mother so much she'd made him leave home. It had happened again. Why does this keep happening? What's wrong with me? Lucky had no answers, only pain, like a great burning hole in his heart where his mother used to be. He felt so lost without her. How could he survive alone? At that moment he would have given anything to have her back, looking after him, taking charge, making plans. Whatever the truth of this terrifying mystery, she would have found a way to make it all better again. But now she was gone, and there was nothing left. Not even a crumb of these chocolate brownies that he'd pushed away. He felt such a wave of homesickness, he almost gave up right there. Lucky, my love, you keep yourself safe, okay? He forced himself to focus. Survival, his survival. That was what she gave her life for. And that was what mattered now. He had to find his own way in the galaxy. He pushed everything else out of his mind, because if he let himself think about what had just happened, he knew he would break into 1,000 pieces. He would never put himself back together again. First things first, he was still naked. But the bag she'd packed for him was undamaged and on the other side of the cabin. He opened it and quickly dressed himself in new clothes, making a bandage for his knees by ripping a shirt into strips. Okay, so what now? Lucky looked around the cabin of the alien ship. It was nothing like his fantasies of glamorous starships. Even where it wasn't burned, every surface looked dusty and dilapidated. The floor was rusty metal, held together by loose rivets. He couldn't even see the ceiling because it was so covered with cobwebs. The broken vid screens in the walls crackled and buzzed with static. He'd hoped to see the stars from a starship, but the screens were so old and damaged he could barely see the view outside. He couldn't have felt more isolated. The only people he could talk to now were the crew of aliens, capable of ripping his head off. He forced himself to remember that this was his mother's plan. He was only here because she trusted him, somehow. But I can't, he thought, can I? No way. And I can't trust the government, not after what the Shadow Guards did. So who can I trust? Who's going to look after me now? He remembered the vidpic on his bedroom wall, a handsome man with a moustache in a starship, commander's uniform. He had been watching over Lucky protectively, smiling down at him beneath the blazing stars of the Spiral Nebula. My father. He's still out there somewhere, and he knows what's happening to me. He warned her it was going to happen, so he must know. His fingers dug into his palms, gripping into this idea because it was all there was. Find my father. That's what I've got to do. A sharp voice broke into his thoughts. So, Groundling, what do you think of our ship? He jumped back, startled. Bixer Quicksilver was standing behind him. He hadn't heard her enter the cabin, but there she was, the needles of her hair glinting electric neon colours. She wasn't wearing her mirror shades, and without them, Lucky was dazzled by the silver fire that burned in her eyes. He looked down at her huge black cloven hooves, then up at the needles again. He couldn't speak. The hole inside him burned. His mother knew how to talk to these aliens. She knew what to say and do. He didn't. But he needed the aliens' help if he was going to ever find his father. "I need to see the captain," he made himself say. "Can you take me to him? Making demands already." She crossed her arms like a solid wall in front of her. "Let's get something straight right now. You try anything, groundling, and you'll regret it. You do just one thing that damages this ship or brings us into any more danger." She left the threat hanging in midair. "Okay," gulped Lucky. Bixer looked down and inspected the scorched, blackened ground around the airlock. How did this get so burned?" she asked. His heart quivered. If she knew it had happened around him while he was asleep. "Promise me you will never tell anyone what happened here." But she didn't seem to know. "Those shadow ships must be even more powerful than I thought," she said. "Well, I guess it's time we redecorated in here." She tapped the ground with her long, slim fingers. There was a rippling sound, and everything started to change. The walls, the ceiling, the floor, every surface was suddenly unstable. Lucky felt dizzy. He couldn't even trust his own eyes anymore, but he soon realised what was happening. The ship was cleaning itself, using some kind of alien technology. As he watched, the cobwebs fell away. Dust disappeared, rust deoxidized and became solid metal. The cabin still looked old, but it renewed itself. Signs began to appear that it must have once been something very grand. It was like a cathedral in space. The ceiling vaulted high above his head in silver arches, which flowed down into the floor through graceful columns, every line curving and connecting organically. And as Bixer tapped the vid screens on the walls, they stopped crackling with static. Instead of showing the view outside, they started to glow from within, filling with vivid colours and light like stained glass. Vid pics now began to appear on the screens. They were images of people, but the most amazing people Lucky had ever seen. They were vast and powerful, more like gods than ordinary people. Some of them had wings and halos, others wielded tridents, scythes, flaming swords, bolts of thunder and lightning. A few held entire worlds in their hands. "Who are these people?" he asked, scalp prickling with the strangeness of it. "The 12 Astraeus, of course." "The 12 who?" Bixer didn't reply. She tapped the ground and a substantial stove appeared. Beside it rose a table and some spherical silver chairs, while swathes of fabric dropped down from the ceiling like hammocks, as if a kitchen, a dining room and a bedroom were all being jammed into a cathedral with no boundaries between them all. But Lucky hardly noticed. He couldn't look away from the glowing figures on the vid screens. "Are they characters from your myths and legends?" he guessed. "Go ahead and laugh, if you think it is so funny," Bixer growled, her needles flashing danger red. "Why would I laugh?" "Because you're just like every other groundling I ever met," she said, stamping her hoof on the floor, her fingers curled into fists of rage. He backed away. Heart thumping in his throat, hands up, helpless. "Look, if you're going to hurt me," he managed to say, "just get it over with." She blinked. A strange expression came into her silver eyes, but whatever it wasn't anger. Slowly, her needles cooled, her fists uncurled. She tapped the walls and the lights went down in the cabin. "Well, we're all done in here," she said quietly. "You wanted to see the captain, right?" Yes," he said, surprised. "Then come with me, because he wants to see you." That was chapter 7 and 8. And then, look, like a funny picture. you're going to have to, when we're back at school, you're going to have to get this book down and have a look at the pictures because they're really, really good. Anyway, that's chapter 8. And I will read chapter 9 very soon. Hope you stay well. Looking forward to seeing you all back in school soon, hopefully. And look after your family and look after yourselves and stay smiling. And yeah. I also do other stories for little kids that you can listen to as well with your younger brothers and sisters or on your own as well. So check out those and the ones that Miss Topping and Miss Coxon does as well because they're also fabulous. All right, keep reading and see you later. Bye.